What's up, guys? Welcome back to the ranch. All right, it's June 11th and I'm standing in my rye grain, which is just about coming to seed. So we're in that like dough stage, as they call it, and I'll come in and show you my rye up close. So you see that? It's starting to make seed and we need to terminate this. And we're gonna terminate this year using just a foot crimper and a backpack sprayer. So last year I used a big crimper and drove all over this. This year we're gonna try to do it with minimal equipment. This way, if you wanted to do this with minimal equipment, I wanted to show you that it can get done. So we're gonna use a backpack sprayer with a little bit of Roundup or glyphosate and this little foot crimper that I just made. All right, this is very possible and very doable. Maybe not on 8 acres, sprawling farm, but on my little 0.33 of a food plot acre, very doable. And I'm gonna show you without equipment how we can do that. All right, so the rye has grown. The rye looks great. Super excited with the rye. Why are we terminating the rye? We don't want this to make seed and go into a second round. It's grown, it suppressed the weeds, it fed the deer when it was really short and still leafy and not stem and stalky. They don't eat it when it's like this. And now we're gonna come in here, we're gonna lay this down over our summer pollinator buckwheat crop. And buckwheat's gonna sit here for the remainder of the summer on my food plot, building up the soil and giving us something else in the fall to crush and kill and seed into. So we're gonna seed into this now. We're gonna crush it and then we're gonna spray all the crushed over stuff. All right, guys. Let's get to doing this. Step one, guys, cedar buckwheat. Now, let me show you. I get this seed. Used it last year. It grew pretty well. This is from Deer Creek Seed Company, and it's buckwheat. This is step one. We're gonna seed into this whole plot before we crush. We wanna get this seed onto the ground. Let's go. So as I'm coming through and seeding with my buckwheat here, I'm noticing that I have a lot of good clover in here, but I also have a lot of weeds, and I'm kind of not happy that I have all these weeds. So this fall, I think to remedy that, I'm gonna end up using more rye, more pounds per acre, to make sure next year I get more coverage with the rye. And that will help suppress the weeds better. Now I usually just walk back and forth in a zigzag pattern just to make sure I covered all my ground. Working in the rye is pretty easy because you can literally see where your step, as you snap the rye, it stays down and it does not come up. And that's why we seed into the rye before we crimp. This way we know that seed can get onto the ground. All right, guys, see the rye standing? And let's dive in, and you can see the soil exposed. And when we come down in here, you can see all the buckwheat seed I just threw in here. The buckwheat seed is here. And I got some nice clover, which is always a shame to kill, but we'll replant it and it will come back. All right, so now let's see what this looks like. Crushing. As I come through, I move forward a few inches and I press down and rotate my foot, allowing the grooves or teeth to crimp and cut the rye, terminating it. And this is something you could do real easy without machinery, with a little bit of elbow grease. So look at that first pass. One pass, and it is laying down. And if I come back right over to where I showed you, that seed is now covered, protected, and it is crimped and laying over the seed so the seed can germinate with a little bit of protection, a little bit of moisture falling on it, and like a greenhouse effect. Perfect. So I wanted to give you a hands-on up close what this looks like when we do it. So we're in the rye. You can see the rye and clover mixture. And we grab a bit and you rotate your foot, and then you come forward a few inches and you press and rotate your foot. You come forward, rotate your foot. And as you go, you keep using the teeth at the bottom of the crimper to crimp and flatten and cut and terminate that rye. And we just make a mat. And look, there's the rye. And we just keep going 3 feet across at a time. Again, this is definitely something that might be tough if you had 8 acres, but with my little food plot here, I can get the job done in less than 2 hours. And that's what we just ran over. Look at that. Now I know you're probably saying, no, I'm good, bro. And I get that. This is a lot of work. But I wanted to show you the process of maybe not having equipment, not having tools, but you can get this done for like the enthusiast that I am, not a professional. I am just a super enthusiast. And you could get this done. Backpack sprayer and what amounts to a couple of 2x6s and some angle iron. And we're gonna come in and finish this plot and spray it next. This, I'm also thinking, could be a great thing to do in the summer. You spray out a spot in the woods that you want to make a nice kill plot in. Let it die down. Plant that rye in there going into fall. And then next year, carry this, backpack this in, this little board crimper, and get in there and crimp that down and plant a nice kill plot deep in the woods. Right now I feel like if I had an Amish follower, if that was possible, he'd be like, that's right, you go after it. Because this is definitely by hand and old school right here. But I am able to get around and over a lot of rocks and stuff in this non-farmland plot that I think is pretty interesting. Definitely could have some backwoods applications with this crimper. So here we go. Yeah. Foot crimping. I really crimped it with just this crimper I built. Yeah, I'm gonna head over to the neighbor's farm, corn farm, and make a big crop circle and scare the crap out of him tonight. We are here. All right, guys, we're moving on to step number 3. So we seeded, we crimped, as you can see, all crimped, and now we're gonna spray. I know what you're saying, oh man, spray. All right, well, if you plant enough rye and you think it's thick enough that when you crimp it, your weeds are gonna be suppressed, you technically don't have to spray. But I'm seeing the lack of density in my rye as my biggest issue. This fall, I'm gonna plant more pounds per acre into this seed to make sure that next year I have enough rye. All right, let's get into spraying. The spraying is gonna kill anything else that didn't die from crimping, and we're gonna be down to the dirt to wait for that rain for the buckwheat to come up and grow. Remember, when spraying, safety first. Mask, gloves, goggles. Work with the wind and try not to spray, overdrift on anything you don't want to spray. All right, ranchers, that's it. We seeded, we crimped, we sprayed. It is now out of our hands. Seed is on the ground. You could Cultipack if you have one of those to add some weight and press the seed a little bit into the dirt, but it's not necessary with buckwheat. And we just gotta wait for some good rain. That'll start the germination on the buckwheat and set us up for our summer pollinator blend. And that's crimping the plot and seeding for summer. Thanks for watching.